Welcome to our study of the Gospel of Matthew. Today we will examine several powerful metaphors that Jesus uses to describe effective disciples in the Sermon on the Mount. We will see that Jesus uses these images to continue the teaching he began with the Beatitudes, explaining what it means to be his disciple. The Sermon on the Mount is Jesus' first discipleship training event. Before he begins teaching, Jesus divides the multitude following him into two groups. Group 1 is made up of those who are part of the problem. Group 2 is made up of those who are to be part of the solution. This training involves three important concepts: the crisis point involved in becoming a Christian, the character involved in being Christian, and the challenge involved when that kind of character impacts culture. Jesus gives a profile of Christ-like character through 8 beautiful attitudes: being poor in spirit and knowing that you do not have what God demands in and of yourself; mourning as one who experiences a transformative sharing in human suffering; meekness as one who has submitted his or her abilities and ambitions to God; thirst for righteousness as one who puts right standing with God first on the priority list; mercy by sharing the kind, loving and forgiving heart of God for others; purity of heart by having your motives reordered by the Lord; peacemaking as one who seeks to heal the enmity between men and their Maker; persecuted for righteousness as those who weigh bravely into the fray of man's war against his Maker. Some of these Beatitudes are the coming devotional attitudes that draw us closer to God. The other Beatitudes are the going relational attitudes that make us effective among men. Following the Beatitudes, Jesus continues the sermon with 4 metaphors about the role of the Christian in the world. According to Jesus, these 8 beautiful attitudes will make us salt, light, a city set on a hill that cannot be hidden, and a candle on a candlestick. In Matthew 5:13-16 we read, "You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has become tasteless, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything, except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot by men. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor does anyone light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on the lampstand, and it gives light to all who are in the house. Let your light shine before men in such a way that they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven." The first metaphor Jesus uses for his Beatitude disciples is, "You are the salt of the earth." What does he mean by that? Well, in a world without refrigeration, salt is a common means of preserving meat from spoiling. In Jesus' metaphor, the world system is like rotting meat, and his disciples are like preserving salt. As Proverbs 29:18 predicts, "Where there is no prophetic vision, the people throw off restraint, but happy is he who lives by Torah." The only way to preserve the world from corruption is to move the disciples of Jesus with their beautiful attitudes out there among all those people, influencing their hearts and the social systems they build. A true disciple of Jesus Christ is a life-giving preservative. With this metaphor, Jesus is saying to his disciples, "Do you see all those people down there at the bottom of the mountain? They do not have richness of life. They are not blessed. They are not spiritually prosperous, and they are not in the state of grace. They do not have the life my Father intended them to have. You have life, however, and you will be the instrument by which those people will find life. Therefore, go down there, mix among them, show them how to have the life you have." The second thing Jesus says about the disciples is, "You are the light of the world." In John 8:12, Jesus says, "I am the light of the world. He who follows me will not walk in the darkness, but will have the light of life." This is another version of the same promise. Jesus is the light. So if we are reformed into his image, our lives will shine forth that light for the world. Jesus is saying that the world does not know it is living in darkness. When Jesus looks on the multitude at the bottom of the mountain on which he is preaching, the thing that moves him to compassion more than anything else is that they are lost and they don't even know it. At the end of his 3 years of public ministry, Jesus prays his high priestly prayer, in the 17th chapter of the Gospel of John. In that prayer, Jesus mentions the word world 17 times. Jesus cares about the whole world, prays for the whole world. He says something truly fantastic in John 17:11. I am no longer in the world, and yet they themselves are in the world, and I come to you. Holy Father, keep them in your name. He says to his disciples, I'm going, you are staying. You are the light of the world. Without you in the world, there is just darkness. Now, you must go out there where it is dark and shine my light into that darkness. Jesus carries the image of the disciples as a light into two more metaphors: the light of a city shining on a hill and the light of a candle high up on a lampstand. The first is about undisguisable impact. The second is about intentionality, about why Jesus is making them disciples. If you have the 8 beautiful attitudes in your life cannot be hidden any more than a city on a hill can hide its light. When you become an authentic disciple of Jesus Christ, you will not be able to hide that fact. People may not know why you are different, but your light, your difference, will get their attention. They will notice, and more often than not, they will ask about it. This is what Jesus wants. He wants his light to shine through them to a world in darkness. There is no other purpose for lighting them up than that. Nobody goes to the trouble of lighting a light only to hide the light. You light a light with every intention of using it to dispel darkness, to guide people through the darkness. Sometimes this may be a lamp to keep one's feet from stumbling in the dark. Sometimes it might be a distant candle in a window, a lighthouse on a dangerous shore to guide the lost soul to safe havens. Jesus is essentially saying to his disciples, before you came up on this mountaintop, you were like an unlit candle. But now you know what it is to be a faithful disciple, and you are a lit candle. I lit up your life so that you can go back down this hill into that darkness and bring that light. At the end of the 3 years that Jesus spends with his apostles, he says in John 15:16, You did not choose me, but I chose you, and appointed you that you should go and bear fruit, and that your fruit should remain, so that whatever you ask of the Father in my name, he may give to you. Now, when Jesus says appointed, he uses a word that means to be strategically placed. It speaks of the way a general would place his troops in a field of battle. So Jesus is saying, I have chosen you and strategically placed you to be fruitful. So here is a challenge. Are you a disciple of Jesus Christ? Do the people around you know that you are a disciple of Jesus Christ? How long do you have to work somewhere before people know you are a Christian? How long before they sense something different about you to the point that they ask about it? Jesus exhorts in Matthew 5:16, Let your light shine before men in such a way that they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven. Now, if we think back to the 8 Beatitudes, we will find 4 couplets of spiritual secrets that tie in wonderfully with these 4 metaphors. The first 2 Beatitudes teach us this first spiritual secret, I can't, but he can. The first couplet is this, I can't accomplish this Christ-like character, but he can, and he is with me. Blessed are the poor in spirit who mourn, while they are learning they cannot achieve godliness, but that Jesus can accomplish through them. You could sum up those first 2 Beatitudes this way, I cannot be salt and light, Lord, but you can, and you are with me. Now, the 3rd and 4th Beatitudes teach us the second spiritual secret. I don't want to, but he wants to. They deal with humility. Meekness has to do with subjecting our will to God's will. Blessed are the meek who hunger and thirst for what is right. You can summarize these 2 Beatitudes by saying something we all ought to say if we are honest with God. God, sometimes I don't want to live out these attitudes, but you want me to do so, and I'm hungry for what you want. You cannot hide your feelings from him. So just confess to him, Lord, I don't want to. Then God says, Yes, I know, but I want to, and I am with you, so let's do this together. Even Jesus experienced this. The way of the cross was a horror. No human being with a properly functioning mind wants the way of the cross. So Jesus prays in Matthew 26:39, "My Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me, yet not as I will, but as you will." There is no shame in not wanting to, only in not obeying him in the call to. The 5th and 6th Beatitudes describe the merciful person who loves unconditionally with a pure heart, and that teaches us the 3rd spiritual secret: I am not, but he is. When you talk about the love of God being manifested unconditionally through his disciples, you can summarize the 5th and 6th Beatitudes this way: I am not perfect love, but he is, and he is with me. The kind of love it takes to be a solution down there at the bottom of the hill among the broken and frequently hostile is the kind of love only God can give you. The good news is that he has promised to be with you. Therefore, by God's grace, you have the potential to be a meaningful part of Jesus' solution for all human need. And finally, our last spiritual secret is found in the 7th and 8th Beatitudes. I didn't, but he did. Here we find persecuted peacemakers who wade into the fray of human enmity with God, reaping its reward, a ministry of reconciliation, and paying its price, persecution. You can summarize these beautiful attitudes this way: I didn't accomplish this, but God did because he was with me. Anytime you realize that you have been a solution and not a problem, by the grace of God, you have to be able to humbly say and humbly know, I didn't do that. He did that because he was with me. If you understand the Beatitudes, you realize that Jesus is saying, it is not a matter of who you are. It is a matter of who God is. It is not a matter of what you can do. It is a matter of what God can do. It is not a matter of what you want. It is a matter of what God wants. When you become the salt of the earth and the light of the world, then you give God the glory, and you say, it was not what I did. It was what you did because you were with me. According to Matthew, becoming a Christian is about becoming a servant of Christ, becoming his hands and feet in the world. Matthew says Jesus Christ is King of Kings and Lord of Lords. He is looking for ordinary, humble people who will come and submit themselves to him, people who say, I want to be part of your solution. I want to be part of your answer, and I am even willing to die for you. That is the challenge involved in becoming a Christian, as presented in the Sermon on the Mount. Let these words of Jesus move you to make that commitment today.